Well, do you know, I think there's light at the end of the tunnel, and engine is more or less back together again. I'll show you the story about it in a second. And I'm planning to head off across Lime Bay, probably Friday. That's going to be the best day where the wind is good, and before, I think Saturday or Sunday, when we're starting to get some very strong winds coming across, mid-20s, upper 20s, something along that line, westerlies again. So I need to head off for the next couple of days. Whilst I've been here in Portland, it's been a great little marina to stay in, actually. But I met the Cadoa crew, which are a lovely bunch of guys, particularly Hank, who is just soft as muck and not very loyal, actually, plays with anybody. And I met Terry from Bumbling Sailor, who's a lovely guy too. He's got his own set of problems, and he's due to be staying in Portland for quite some time now. He's got a job working at a bar, and he's going to spend the time renovating his boat. I'll put the links at the bottom for both if you're not familiar with either. But yeah, so here's the story of my engine, or the second part of it at least. So this is the so my engineering shop is sort of a remodeled kitchen at the moment. And the very latest on my my engine works. So what we're realizing now, the engineer's just been out and we're testing the water flow, and there is definitely a blockage in the water flow. It's not clean, he says. When hang on a sec, I'm going to put this on so I'm talking to you direct. So when the engineer came out, he checked what I thought was burning oil in the exhaust. He said it's steam. And he says that the vast majority of that is actually steam. The oil levels I've checked this morning were great in the engine. No contamination, no oils, no diesel, no nothing. So what we're looking at is the water flow. He checked the water flow, and I'll show you the areas that we checked in a second. And he said that is not good enough for the engine. The manifold is heating up too quickly. So I've got a spare manifold, a brand new manifold. So I've put the manifold on, and what we're going to do now is check the flow again, and also potentially flush the engine through with descaler and see what's going on. We know that the water coming from the what do you call it? Oh, for God's sake, the bit that comes through the hull. I'll remember it in a minute. I'll probably put a label on it. That flow is good. That's strong. So this pipe goes to the water filter. So I'm going to check that in a second and see if it needs any cleaning. So we know the seacock is good and clean. Water flow is good. It comes into the bottom into here and out here. This is good. I've cleaned this out. There's no problems with that. That hose is this one here. That runs into the gearbox here at the back. And it flows out of here, comes through here to the impeller. The impeller is working. It's a new impeller in there, and that runs cold very, very quickly, which is designed to do. This pipe runs through here, and what we've got underneath the bottom, you can see the joint there where the pipe is. There's a T-junction there. Now that pushes the water into the barrels, so it circulates around the pistons. Obviously not with the pistons, so it just cools the metal down. And that part that comes out, that goes up to here. Goes out, goes to there. Well, that's the thermostat housing. And from the thermostat housing, this is the pipe. When it's connected, goes up into the top, keep the water flowing, and stops the water flowing when the engine turns off. Otherwise, you get like this siphon effect that keeps running through. So when the engine turns off, this stops the siphoning of the water, so the flow. But then we're thinking this is the problem here. It's the manifold, what we're down to now. This pipe here, out the outside of the exhaust, should run cold, relatively cold, but it was running very hot. This will run relatively hot anyway. So the problem being, we think now, since we run a little bit of blitz through, we may have dislodged something, and the problem is in the manifold itself. So the next job, strip the manifold off and blitz it, clean it out. Probably what's been the most amazing thing about this whole process is that it's kind of taken my fear away from this engine. When I first picked up the boat, I knew I had to do something with the engine, check the oars and all the usual basic stuff, but I didn't want to go there. Extraordinary as it is, you jump on a new boat and not really do anything with it and just hope it doesn't work well. This is an old engine, heavily engineered engine, and incredibly simple. This is what I'm getting to. This is the fact that I'm looking at this thinking, this is very, very manageable. So this is a bucket of Blitz. The exhaust manifold is inside. You can see the rough outline, particularly on the right-hand side there. That white shadow you can see is actually micro bubbles coming off the unit which the Blitz is working on. So it's breaking it down, and the big bubbling on the left-hand side is obviously where there's a significant amount more work being done on the manifold. So this little puppy here is a drain plug. That actually comes out of that hole down there. Just clogged that, probably not been opened in a long time. That's the outer part that the water can drain through. This is the bit that connects to the block. There you go, daylight. And 4 hours later, the exhaust block is taken out of its little soup and rinsed off thoroughly and then reassembled. So I left the engines on tick over at the moment. I have stressed the engine and put it into 1500 revs, forward gear whilst tethered to the pontoon, so it's going to be working incredibly hard. 5 minutes of that, and yeah, the temperature is holding very nicely. Handheld temperature on the rubber, the exhaust is a little bit hotter, but good. So I didn't manage to video all of this. What I've got is the seacock is closed. I've got a red bucket underneath the thermostat housing and one of the top hoses running into the red bucket. The engine is running, and as I feed the Blitz into the water filter housing, it's going to run through the engine. As soon as it started running through the pipe into the bucket, I turned the engine off. And what we then have is an engine full of Blitz, and that's going to soak overnight. This is at 8 o'clock in the evening. And I will empty and run it clear about 7 o'clock in the morning. You probably can't hear this, but it's crackling and bubbling inside. Mostly you can hear it from around here. But that's good. It means something's happening. It generally means that the decalc stuff, whatever you call it, is starting to break down any shit that's in there. So that's good. Hopefully, one flush will be more than enough. I've used a lot of it already. Yeah, and then a major engine cleanup after that. But it's good. It's good. We've cleaning out the manifold was a huge change. It seems to run a lot cooler now, which is great. But the water funnels around the barrels are blocked, definitely, because they're not coming out of those taps at the bottom of the barrels. So that's the next job. And I don't know how easy it's going to be able to gunk those clean, but we'll see. It's one step at a time. It's progress anyway, so that's great. So that's it for today. It's Tuesday. Yeah, so the essence of the information came back from the engineer who looked at it this morning, spent quite a couple of hours with me, which was really good. He pretty much said that the vast majority that's coming out of the exhaust, what I thought was smoke, burnt oil, is actually steam, and you could see it dissipating very, very quickly. Where, of course, with the smoke would linger and float across the surface of the water. So that was encouraging. So it just means that I kind of asked, well, is it the flow's not good enough? And he said, kind of, yeah. It says if there's more water flow, then of course it just pushes it out quicker. Didn't quite understand that, but so that's what we've been working on today. So it's end of Tuesday. The engine is now in soak with the decal stuff. going to be soaked overnight, and get up in the morning, 6ish, 7ish, and flush it through. Have a seawater flush. So the engineer bought a laser temperature gauge, and the hose pipe was 40 degrees thereabouts. The manifold was around 70 odd, I think, which is good, and the main exhaust manifold, which you can't see in the picture, was about 90 degrees. So temperatures were excellent. Oh, that's what sailing looks like. I've forgotten. Well, maybe next video. See you soon. Oh, one other thing. It's Friday morning tomorrow, and I'm going sailing.